I knew something was off the moment the HR intern Rachel started avoiding eye contact in the hallway. She used to wear a practiced smile, the same one that accompanied her weekly team spirit emails. But that morning, she gripped her coffee tightly as if it were a security blanket and mumbled a greeting without looking at me. Our office always smelled faintly of lemon disinfectant, a mix of stress and superficial cleanliness. I worked in finance audit at Larkwell Industries, where the fluorescent lights buzzed louder than conversations. My job revolved around precision, managing numbers, forms, and timestamps. I ensured we didn't inadvertently commit federal fraud by missing a detail on compliance reports. Glamorous, right? I had spent 8 years there, never missing a deadline or causing a fuss, and I only used a sick day with a doctor's note in hand. Yet, at 9:02 a.m. that Friday, my phone buzzed with an HR message that changed everything. Company update policy violation notice attachment IMGent 4751 JPG. When I opened it, my stomach sank. It was my photo, my ID badge headshot, with bold red text stating, "Fired for leaving 2 minutes early. Do not rehire." The email had been sent to everyone, every department, every contractor, even external partners. 2 minutes early. I stared at it, motionless, as chat notifications erupted around me. Was this real? Someone even reacted with a laughing emoji. I didn't cry or fume. I felt empty, as if a vacuum had erased my insides. I minimized the email and checked my timesheet. I had clocked out at 4:58 p.m. We'd been told we could leave flexibly within 5 minutes as long as we completed our 40 hours. My manager, Carl, had reassured me, "Don't stress about it." But he wasn't answering his phone now. At 9:15 a.m., I heard deliberate footsteps approaching, punctuated by heels striking the tile. It was Lexa, our HR head, always in power suits and full of slogans. "Workplace culture is everyone's responsibility," she'd say before firing someone over a misalignment of attitudes. "Ada," she said, stopping at my desk with an overly calm tone. "We need to talk in my office." I followed her past framed motivational posters, words that meant nothing here. Her office smelled of vanilla candles and authority. She gestured for me to sit and slid a printed paper across the desk, a termination notice for early departure without manager approval. I blinked in disbelief. "You sent that to the whole company." Lexa smiled, a tight, rehearsed expression. "Transparency is part of our new accountability model." Transparency, I repeated slowly, a word for my humiliation. "It's not personal," she insisted. "You violated timekeeping policy by 2 minutes. Her smile stiffened. "Rules exist for a reason, Ada. If we make exceptions, we lose structure." I nearly laughed, but it came out as a sputtered breath. "Structure. Got it," I replied, standing up quietly. "Then you should check your structure regarding those compliance reports you submitted to the Department of Energy. My name is still on them." She blinked, momentarily caught off guard before recovering. "That's irrelevant." "It will be," I retorted, not waiting for her response. I grabbed my bag and walked past coworkers who pretended not to stare. I overheard whispers about theft and curses aimed at HR. Gossip travels faster than logic in the corporate world. By the time I reached the parking lot, I had 47 unread messages and a missed call from legal, all of which I ignored. At home, I sat in silence in my small apartment with thin walls and a view of a grocery store loading dock. I made coffee, opened my laptop, and logged into my personal email. I had saved everything: audit reports, detailed logs, signed compliance chains, because, after years in the job, you learn to keep receipts, especially when the company you protect fails to protect you back. I didn't seek revenge. Not yet. I just wanted the truth. And truth once documented is unstoppable. At 3:07 p.m., an urgent email arrived from the Federal Energy Oversight Agency regarding a follow-up on compliance logs. Froze. They were auditing the grant reports that Lexa had filed with my credentials, the same ones I hadn't signed off on. Somewhere between her hitting send and my name disappearing from payroll, Larkwell had made a grave error. They used unauthorized clearance for a federal contract. I reread the email and leaned back, feeling an odd calm wash over me. I opened the attachment. My name was listed as the authorized officer, but I had never signed it. I gazed out the window at the gray sky as the first drops of rain tapped against the glass like punctuation. They had fired me for leaving 2 minutes early, unaware that in doing so, they had triggered a clock they could not stop. By Monday morning, my name became a ghost story whispered between cubicles. "Did you hear about Ada?" HR blasted her to everyone. Apparently she was stealing time. The irony almost made me laugh. I woke early, not because I had anywhere to be, but due to my body's conditioning to start reviewing spreadsheets at 6:30 a.m. The routine felt hollow now, devoid of team notifications and corporate chatter. Just the hum of my old laptop and the bitter scent of overbrewed coffee. I didn't plan to check my old work email, but when I did, I noticed something odd. My login still worked. HR had disabled my ID badge and revoked my payroll access but hadn't terminated my clearance to the compliance archive. At 9:04 a.m., I accessed the system and ran a routine query for the Energy Infrastructure Stabilization contract. The access log revealed alarming information. Documents had been re-uploaded on Friday evening, 1 hour after my termination, with my name still as the authorized certifier. Once a certification form is submitted with an inactive employee ID, it's flagged for a compliance audit, meaning the Department of Energy would be notified. They had triggered a federal audit the moment they sent it. I stared at the screen, comprehending the implications. If the agency had detected this already, someone from the government would arrive, likely not today but soon. I didn't have to lift a finger. By 11:22 a.m., an email came through from Franklin Marlowe, the Chief Operations Officer, to HR and Legal Compliance, marked urgent. The message informed them of a federal liaison's visit scheduled for the next day regarding recent contract submissions. They had no idea I could still access all information. That night, I barely slept, replaying the absurd HR email with my face, recalling how Rachel had avoided my gaze and how Lexa had smiled as if it were just another day at work. I felt no anger, merely a steady calm resolve. The next morning the federal liaison arrived, but I wasn't there. However, I soon learned all the details from a friend in legal. He walked in, dressed in a plain gray suit, his badge hidden, carrying a thick binder. He introduced himself as Agent Donovan from the Federal Oversight and Compliance Division. Franklin greeted him with his usual charm, while Lexa was poised in the boardroom, folder in hand. My friend later reported Lexa proudly explained my termination, repeating her earlier words as she stated I violated structure by leaving early without approval. "Accountability is key to maintaining integrity," she declared. Donovan calmly opened his binder and stated, "Miss Carson's signature appears on 6 active grant certifications, including one submitted post-termination. Can you confirm she was still employed at that time?" Lexa replied, "She was not, but that's irrelevant." Donovan responded, "Actually, it's very relevant. Using the credentials of a terminated employee on a federal document constitutes a misrepresentation under Clause 12.4 of your grant agreement." The room fell silent. Franklin shifted uneasily, mumbling, "We didn't realize." Agent Donovan read a line from his binder aloud. "Any certification submitted under the authority of a non-active employee means immediate audit suspension and potential funding freeze." The company lawyer Barlow lost color in his face. As described by my friend, he stood and shouted, "You must be kidding. HR sent that form without clearance." Donovan simply closed his binder, stating, "Then you'll want to discuss that with HR." He left a business card on the table and exited without a handshake, leaving a palpable silence in his wake. Later my friend informed me, Barlow screamed, Lexa looked like she'd seen a ghost. I sat in my kitchen rereading that text as sunlight streamed across the counter, my half-finished coffee turning cold. The company had turned against me, attempting to erase me in public, unaware they would eventually undo themselves. By noon, headlines began surfacing across internal channels. An anonymous tip from a local business blog read, "Major contractor under federal audit after internal HR scandal." They hadn't named names, but I recognized the phrasing. The audit was imminent. Over the next few weeks, Larkwell Industries faced massive fallout due to federal investigations, losing millions in government contracts and partnerships. As I moved forward, I received a letter from the Department of Energy acknowledging my role as the original certifying officer. My termination was noted as unrelated to my compliance record, and they offered me a consulting role for future oversight reviews. I was no longer just a name marked, "Do not rehire." I reclaimed my dignity and turned the humiliation into a symbol of proof against corporate arrogance. Months later, I worked as the consultant I had always deserved to be, far removed from the fluorescent lights of Larkwell Industries. I kept a framed letter from Agent Donovan on my desk next to a faded memo that once proclaimed, "Do not rehire," now marked with a blue pen, an artifact of my journey from erasure to recognition. Each bite of my lunch felt like a small victory. The power of quiet truths began to resonate in a world previously drowned out by hollow policies.